A man confidently proposes to his girlfriend after many years together, but the girl coldly turns him down. And not only that, she even directly says they should break up. She says they should break up. Katsuo runs after her, but he can only watch Yumi walk away without looking back. He shouts unwillingly why. Katsuo just can't understand it. Why does his perfect life fall apart at this moment? Now let's go back 9 days and see what really happened. Ayumi and Katsuo look like a happy and perfect couple on this weekend day. Ayumi is cooking in the kitchen. Katsuo lies on the bed and comfortably watches a romance drama. The proposal scene in the drama is exactly what Katsuo dreams of. They are going to the zoo for a date. Today, Ayumi gets up early to prepare bento at lunchtime. Katsuo keeps praising Ayumi's cooking. It should be a sweet moment, but the man suddenly starts talking like a jerk. He says, "This is what a real homemade bento is." He also says many bentos that call themselves homemade actually use ready-made frozen food. That is just cutting corners. It doesn't deserve to be called homemade bento. It should only be called defrosted bento. Ayumi also goes along with him. He says, "If you go to the zoo for a date, you should make bento by hand." He says this girly side of Ayumi is what he likes most. When Katsuo eats with coworkers at the company, he loves judging other people's food. His coworker Shirasaki notices Katsuo brings bento every day, so he asks if Katsuo made it himself. Katsuo says he doesn't cook. His girlfriend makes the bento. The coworker is surprised to hear that. Katsuo also says it is improper for a man to cook early in the morning. At this time another coworker, Minamikawa, walks by. Katsuo stops her. He asks if Minamikawa is eating donuts for lunch. Minamikawa corrects him and says it is not a donut but a bagel. Katsuo carelessly says it's all the same. He even tells her she should at least make her own bento. Minamikawa says she doesn't cook. Katsuo is shocked that there are girls who don't cook. This comment fully shows what a show-a-fossil man he is. Ayumi works as a receptionist at a big company. After work she buys ingredients, then goes home and makes tasty food. When Katsuo comes home from work, dinner is already ready, but Katsuo still has to comment on every dish. He says this one is full of flavor and that one is nutritious. But if he must find a flaw, the whole meal looks too brown. It would be better if the plating and colors looked prettier. Ayumi immediately says sorry. Katsuo tells her not to apologize. He says he just wants Ayumi to know she can do even better. These are only small suggestions. The coworkers hear Katsuo is going to propose to his girlfriend. Even though they don't say much, they all secretly think his girlfriend has it hard. But Katsuo is lost in the perfect life he built in his head. He and Ayumi were the campus star couple in college. They are the perfect couple in everyone's eyes. Their relationship has gone smoothly all these years. So he thinks this proposal also has to be perfect. But when the proposal day finally comes and Ayumi firmly rejects him, Katsuo is completely stunned. Ayumi does not tell him the reason because in her eyes, even if she says it, Katsuo still won't understand. The woman just pulls her suitcase and leaves without hesitation. The 2025 fall drama, "Why don't you try doing it?" begins here, rather than saying, Katsuo can't accept being dumped. It is more that he can't accept other people knowing he got dumped. So he pretends in front of his coworkers that the proposal succeeded, but in truth he starts living on supermarket ready-made bento every day after work. That day, Katsuo is invited to a mixer. As the most handsome man there, he gets all the women's attention at first, but when he says he likes girls who can cook, the women clearly lose interest. During the whole mixer, Katsuo also shows many rude habits. For example, when the food comes, he naturally tells the girl next to him to serve everyone. So in the end not a single girl wants to give him her contact. Katsuo just finds it unbelievable. Since he was little, girls have always swarmed around him like bees. Did the world change during the years he dated Yumi? Katsuo tells his coworkers about being dumped and failing at the mixer as if it happened to a friend. The coworkers instantly know he is clearly talking about himself and Katsuo's story. That friend of his really loves Chikuzeni and his ex-girlfriend always made it for him. So Minamikawa suggests, why not let this friend make Chikuzeni himself? Then maybe he will understand his ex's feelings. Katsuo freezes. He points at himself and repeats the word cooking with total disbelief. After work, Katsuo hesitates outside the supermarket, but in the end he goes in with a do-or-die feeling. He buys ingredients while checking an online recipe, but even something as simple as grocery shopping makes him feel embarrassed. When he gets to the seasoning section he is completely overwhelmed in the end. When the cashier says 4,380 yen, Katsuo even thinks it must be a mistake. He can't believe some vegetables can be this expensive. Just buying food already leaves him physically and mentally tired, and the real challenge only starts now. The first step is washing burdock root. After finally washing it, Katsuo realizes it still has skin on it. He thinks for a long time before realizing he needs a peeler. But the problem is he has no idea where the peeler is. By the time he finally finishes preparing the ingredients, the kitchen is already a total mess. While cutting carrots, Katsuo remembers how Yumi always cut them into flower shapes. That is something he really liked. So Katsuo tries to copy her but ends up cutting his hand. He finally gets to the frying step, then realizes the chicken and vegetables still need dashi after being fried. But he did not prepare dashi at all, so the man rushes again to the supermarket before it closes. The shop clerk hands him dashi powder, but in Katsuo's eyes that is just cutting corners. He thinks if he is going to do it, then he has to make dashi by hand, like his ex-girlfriend and his mother. But by the time he can finally start cooking it is already past midnight at 12:30. The chikuzeni he makes in the end looks dirty and messy. It makes people lose all appetite and the peas are overcooked and limp like they are dead. So apparently those have to be cooked separately. All of this makes Katsuo completely break down. He can only comfort himself and think as long as it is edible. But when he takes one bite he finds the lotus root is hard and salty. This is the worst chikuzeni he has ever eaten in his life. The next day Katsuo brings the chikuzeni he made for his coworkers to try. Everyone thinks the texture is disgusting. And even now Katsuo still cannot understand Yumi's feelings, so he swears he will never cook again. After he gets home he even throws away the kitchen knife. That day Shirasaki invites Katsuo to lunch. Katsuo sees Shirasaki's neat bento and thinks his girlfriend made it. But Shirasaki says he is the one who always cooks at home. Katsuo immediately asks, "Your girlfriend won't cook for you." Shirasaki calmly says he just likes cooking. Shirasaki also wants to tell Katsuo that nikujiga is actually easy to make and it can even be seasoned with dipping sauce. But Katsuo unexpectedly thinks that way is crooked and wrong. He wants other people to cook tasty food for him. Yet he also looks down on cooking itself, and that attitude finally angers Shirasaki. In the end the two part on bad terms. After clashing with his coworker, Katsuo again starts thinking about what Yumi said that night, so he decides to try making dipping sauce. This time goes more smoothly than the first time he cooked, and when he eats it with somen it actually tastes pretty good. But then he suddenly realizes if he has to make dipping sauce fresh every time he eats noodles, then isn't that too much trouble? He looks up nikujiga on his phone again, and discovers the ingredients are almost the same as dipping sauce. Only then does Katsuo realize he was wrong before. At lunch break the next day Katsuo hesitates for a long time but finally sits next to Shirasaki. He carefully asks if Shirasaki likes somen. Shirasaki looks confused. So Katsuo adds that he means somen. Shirasaki answers that he likes it. Then Katsuo says he made dipping sauce and asks if he wants to eat it. Shirasaki asks in surprise, "You made this?" Katsuo nods. Shirasaki did not expect him to make it himself. Katsuo nervously asks if he doesn't want to eat it. Shirasaki quickly says no. He stammers and says he actually really wants to try it, so Katsuo suggests they eat it in the park. Shirasaki still looks a little surprised, but in the end the two decide to go to the park together. Before this, Shirasaki had invited Katsuo many times to eat lunch in the park, but Katsuo always refused, saying two men eating together in the park was gross. After trying it, Shirasaki praises Katsuo's dipping sauce. He also lets Katsuo try the bento he made. Katsuo really wants to apologize to Shirasaki, but the words still won't come out. Shirasaki sees through him, so he apologizes first. Only then does Katsuo finally say what is in his heart. He says he was wrong too, saying using dipping sauce is lazy and saying things like your girlfriend won't cook. All of that was too one-sided. He also adds that two grown men eating outside together actually feels pretty nice. Shirasaki smiles and agrees, and both of them think this really is nice after work. This time Katsuo feels much better when he goes shopping again. But when he gets home he sees a woman with pink hair whose back looks just like a Yumi. At first he thinks he must be mistaken, because that girl's style is completely different from a Yumi's old one. But that pink-haired girl is actually Yumi. That night Katsuo picks up the kitchen tools he threw away before he decides to challenge Chikuzeni again. This time the taste still does not match Yumi's, but at least it doesn't taste bad anymore. Katsuo packs the leftovers and puts them in the fridge. Then he notices the Yumi's chikuzeni from before the breakup is still inside. but the pretty carved decorations were always Ayumi's special style. The things Katsuo once took for granted are now all gone. He feels like he can see Ayumi back when she still lived in this home. She always took care of everything in the house with great care. But ever since Ayumi left, the whole home feels completely different. Katsuo finally lets go of that male pride and truly realizes that he really loves Ayumi. He really wants to tell her he is sorry. At a snack and drink fair, Katsuo thinks about Ayumi. While getting completely drunk, Shirasaki cannot help sighing and says, "You really love your ex-girlfriend." Hearing the words ex-girlfriend only makes Katsuo feel even worse. Then a staff member brings out tequila. Shirasaki and Katsuo both say they can't drink something that strong, but Shirasaki notices a table of girls nearby has been drinking tequila the whole time. Meanwhile, Katsuo is already fully lost in sadness, so Shirasaki can only comfort him. He says, "Maybe your ex is hurting just like you right now. After all, you were together for so long." These words instantly wake Katsuo up. Maybe Yumi is secretly crying over the breakup too, but actually the girl Shirasaki sees drinking tequila the whole time is Yumi. Ayumi cries out that it tastes really good. Then she starts feeling a little overwhelmed and says she wants to go wash her face. Someone nearby even says she drinks, in a really bold way, and Ayumi happily says tequila is the best. Episode 1 of Why Don't You Try Doing It ends here. Most of this episode is told from the point of view of Katsuo, played by Ryoma Takeuchi. It deeply shows a fossil-like man who feels like he came from the Showa era. In simple Chinese internet talk, this kind of man just has a strong jerk smell. In recent years, housework division has become a hot topic. Many men are like Katsuo and naturally act like hands-off bosses at home, but this drama breaks down that attitude in a light and fun way. Maybe it can make male viewers reflect and change without feeling attacked. Of course, at the end of the day, this is still a romantic comedy. Katsuo's change in the drama is still quite idealized, but in real life, changing family roles and gender ideas will probably take a long time if your boyfriend also always says things like this. "Thank you for making dinner ahead of time, but fresh cooked food still tastes best. Food heated in the microwave always tastes a little worse. The whole meal looks kind of brown. It would be better if the colors looked prettier." What kind of man cooks early in the morning, cooking at home and waiting for the one you love to come back? That is a woman's happiness. Right then, when a boyfriend like that proposes to you, you only need to do 2 words: run fast. This is exactly how Ayumi rejects Katsuo's proposal and firmly breaks up with him. A few days before the proposal, Ayumi goes to cut her hair. Hairdresser Nagisa asks what kind of hairstyle she wants, but Ayumi answers that ordinary is fine. Nagisa keeps asking what ordinary really means to her. Only then does Ayumi realize she has never seriously thought about that. So Nagisa changes the question and asks what she likes to eat most. Ayumi answers without thinking, chikuzeni. It is the dish she makes most often because it is her boyfriend's favorite. But what does she herself like the most? She has actually never thought about it. Since she was young, Ayumi has always lived with the idea that she should make other people like her more. That is because she grew up watching her mother and sister revolve around men all day. So she also came to believe that being liked by men gives her value. And the way she learned that was by obeying men as much as possible. Over time, she slowly loses her real self. When Nagisa talks about the foods she likes, she names them one after another, and grilled offal skewers catches Ayumi's interest. She has never tried food with such an older man taste before, so Nagisa takes Ayumi to a small place with really good grilled offal. The two order giant mugs of beer. It is Ayumi's first time seeing beer served in such a huge glass. Her reaction even makes Nagisa wonder if she used to live like she was locked up. Ayumi can no longer remember how long it has been since she drank so freely, and the grilled intestines do not taste as strong and dirty as she imagined. Instead, that rich smell makes the skewer taste even better. Ayumi finally feels again that the world is bright and shining. After the meal, Nagisa takes her to a bar and introduces her to her husband soon. Several friends pull Nagisa into the dance floor. Ayumi stands aside and watches Nagisa move with the music. That girl looks happy and free just by being herself. She already married the person she likes, and she is surrounded by many friends. All of that makes Ayumi feel very jealous. As she keeps thinking, she orders herself a glass of tequila too. The moment the drink slides into her mouth, she feels a joy she has never felt before. Nagisa calls for Ayumi to come dance too, and the girl takes off her coat without hesitation and joins the happy crowd. At first she still feels a little stiff, but with Nagisa leading her, she quickly sinks into the lively mood of the dance floor. But when she returns to her real life, what greets her is a strong feeling of distance. Katsuo first fake thanks her for making dinner early, then says fresh food still tastes better and food heated in the microwave always loses some taste. Right after that he complains that eggplant and miso soup is out of season and says it is already autumn. Then he pretends to comfort her, and says it is still much better than store-bought food. He even says ready-made food must use dashi powder, and he absolutely cannot accept that. When Katsuo calls Yumi and tells her she must come out for dinner, Yumi already has a feeling that he is probably going to propose. And sure enough, the moment Katsuo takes out the ring, what comes to Yumi's mind is, do I really have to live like this for the rest of my life? So she chooses to leave Katsuo. Actually, Yumi is not as firm as she looks. After all, what she has always wanted since childhood is a stable family life, and Katsuo seems to have a bright future. She even starts wondering if she made a terribly stupid choice. Ayumi does not really have friends. The only person she can rely on is Nagisa. After Nagisa hears that she broke up with her boyfriend, she helps Ayumi welcome a new life by specially dyeing her hair a new color. Ayumi has kept an ordinary hairstyle all her life, so she never expected pink hair would suit her so well. And that leads right into the ending of episode 1, where Yumi and Katsuo meet again. It turns out Katsuo does not even recognize Yumi. The reason he shows such a deep look is only because he sees Chikuzeni being sold there. But Yumi feels a little hurt inside. So just by changing her hair color, the person who once spent every day with her cannot even recognize her anymore. On the other side, Katsuo is not satisfied after tasting the Chikuzeni sold there, because it tastes nothing like Yumi's. Right now, his greatest wish is to eat Yumi's Chikuzeni just once more. Every time it is time to eat, Katsuo cannot stop thinking about Yumi. A co-worker tells him that saying unhappy things out loud can help, but then he remembers what his father taught him since childhood. Endure it, Katsuo. You have to support a family one day. You must not show weakness in front of others. You are a man, aren't you? So Katsuo's male chauvinism really comes from this kind of masculinity he was taught as a child. Minamikawa suggests that he try meeting new people through a dating app, but Katsuo refuses without any hesitation. He says the woman in his dreams has to be like Yumi, quiet, low-key and cute when she smiles. How can a girl like that be easy to find? But Minamikawa argues back and says maybe Yumi already found someone new. The only person standing still is Katsuo himself. But Katsuo confidently believes Yumi would never be like that. So what is Yumi doing right now? She is standing in front of a liquor store. A cute shop clerk invites her to try some new tequila in the store. Yumi's reaction makes the clerk think she drinks a lot usually, but the girl is still not used to showing this side of herself in front of others, so she quickly runs away. After work, a few co-workers go out to eat together. Everyone is chatting and laughing. Only Katsuo stays serious the whole time. The co-workers all think he is still sad over the breakup, but actually all he can think about right now is whiskey and cola. He simply cannot understand it, and even asks Minamikawa if she really likes whiskey and cola. In his eyes, something that's sweet and fragrant should never go with a real meal. He badly wants to complain in his head. The words are almost at his mouth, but he worries that if he says them he will say something wrong. So he forces himself to stay quiet, and keeps telling himself it is fine, he can hold it in. If it is not something necessary to say, then he won't say it. But unexpectedly, after Minamikawa finishes one glass, she orders another. This makes Katsuo feel even more broken inside. Everyone quickly notices that Minamikawa really loves whiskey and cola, so the girls start warmly recommending it, especially whiskey and cola with grilled offal skewers. Katsuo finally cannot hold it in anymore. He repeats grilled offal skewers in disbelief and complains that such a sweet drink should not go with something so strong and heavy like offal. Just imagining it is too much for him. But Minamikawa calmly says that is fine and adds that she never expected him to understand. Anyway, those words bother Katsuo more and more because he suddenly remembers Yumi said something similar when they broke up. She said, "I don't expect you to understand anymore." So what is it that he has never understood? Katsuo goes out in a bad mood to buy things, because they even ran out of trash bags at home. Meanwhile, Yumi and Nagisa are talking about love. Nagisa asks how Yumi first came to like her ex-boyfriend, but Yumi's answer is that his hometown felt stable and his future looked promising. Nagisa hears that, and feels that is not love at all. So she changes the question and asks why Yumi likes tequila. Yumi answers simply because tequila tastes good, and Nagisa says that is what liking something really is. Then Ayumi suddenly remembers she still has the key to Katsuo's place. So she puts on a black wig and quietly goes to his home to return it. But just then the man has already gone out to buy trash bags. When Ayumi returns to Nagisa's home, she hears Nagisa and her husband talking sweetly at the door, and feels it would be awkward if she went in now. So she goes alone to the nearby park, sitting there by herself. She feels especially lonely. Then a sweet couple walks past her, and she cannot help thinking about the time she was with Katsuo. Katsuo always looked down on couples holding hands or hugging on the street. So every time they walked outside, all Yumi ever saw was Katsuo's back. And that is exactly why being in love with Katsuo often felt lonely too. Meanwhile, Katsuo also passes by this small park on his way home. He walks past that same couple, and there makes him think of being with Ayumi too. Actually, he once also wanted to naturally hold Ayumi's hand outside, like other couples do, but in the end that strange male pride stopped him. In the end, Katsuo and Ayumi still failed to meet in that small park. That day Katsuo goes to the grill restaurant Minamikawa mentioned, called Shikamonia. He orders the shop's famous grilled intestines and whiskey and cola. Unexpectedly, Minamikawa happens to come there too. The skewers are served very quickly. Katsuo takes a bite with zero expectations, but it surprisingly tastes good. It completely breaks his old fixed image of intestines. Right after that the whiskey and cola is served too. Katsuo still is not used to such a sweet drink, but the sweetness of the cola actually makes the taste of the offal feel lighter and fresher. Only then does Katsuo finally understand Minamikawa's taste a little. He takes the initiative to apologize to her, and reflect that his judgment before was too one-sided. Seeing this, Minamikawa also thinks maybe Katsuo treated his ex the same way before, always making one-sided judgments. And Katsuo also finally realizes that when he was with Ayumi he was always the one deciding what she ate and drank and never once truly asked what she wanted. Meanwhile Ayumi really does get a new encounter. The liquor store clerk invites Ayumi to try some new snacks he's specially prepared. The girl says her alcohol tolerance is low and that she can only drink a little. But the clerk prepares all kinds of small dishes that go well with tequila, and Ayumi ends up drinking cup after cup without noticing. The clerk cannot help wondering why Ayumi always pretends she cannot drink well. So Ayumi finally explains that her ex-boyfriend always believed girls should not be able to drink. Back when everyone went out together, she actually wanted to drink too, but her ex would always bring her oolong tea instead and comfort her by saying that if she could not drink she should not force herself. So she could only keep playing the role of the perfect and delicate girlfriend. But the clerk thinks Ayumi looks especially cute when she drinks naturally and freely. So he even takes a picture with her. Looking at that picture, Ayumi suddenly remembers the first time she spoke to Katsuo. She carefully apologized as she started talking, then asked him if he was left-handed. Katsuo nodded and said yes. Ayumi immediately happily said she was too. What a coincidence. Then she asked if he also ate with his left hand. Katsuo said yes. Ayumi asked, what about throwing things? Katsuo said he actually uses his right hand to throw, and Ayumi said in surprise that she was the same. So the first time she talked to Katsuo she was carrying a kind of sudden attraction that ignored everything and could not even be explained. On the weekend Katsuo invites Shirasaki and Minamikawa to his home. At the same time Ayumi comes to return the key again. This time she does not hide her hair color anymore. The person he has been longing to see finally appears before him again. But when Katsuo sees her pink hair he can hardly believe his own eyes. After returning the key, Ayumi turns to leave. Shirasaki and Minamikawa can both see that Katsuo does not want her to go, so they warmly invite Ayumi to stay and eat curry together, and Katsuo naturally walks into the kitchen too. This scene feels unbelievable to Ayumi. She watches Katsuo, Shirasaki and Minamikawa laughing and chatting in the house like close friends, while she herself suddenly feels like the outsider, and that familiar loneliness rises in her heart again. Katsuo finally finds a chance to ask how Ayumi really makes chikuzeni and even asks her to teach him herself. But just then Shirasaki finds dashi powder in the corner of the kitchen, and that is the little secret Ayumi had been hiding. In that instant Ayumi feels like her privacy has been exposed in front of everyone, so she runs out of Katsuo's house in a panic. This gives Katsuo a big shock, because he really did see Ayumi make dashi by hand before. But he never realized that all the careless things he said about instant food were actually making things hard for her the whole time. At that moment he finally understands how deeply wrong he was, so he immediately runs after her. On the other side, the liquor store clerk asks Yumi to meet him. He wants to see her simply because he suddenly really wants to see her. That feeling of being wanted without having to prove her value hits Yumi right away. It feels like all the loneliness of her past is filled in at once, and the girl finally cannot stop herself from crying. The clerk immediately pulls her into his arms without hesitation. And at that exact moment Katsuo runs over. When he sees that scene, he quickly hides to the side. He still wants to see clearly what is going on, but his view is blocked tightly by a passerby and a dog. In the end, Katsuo still fails to tell Yumi what is in his heart. He really wants to cry out loud, but that ridiculous male pride will not let him show weakness in public, so he forces himself to hold it in. The man makes Odin the night before and prepares to welcome the girl. He thinks he will hear her praise in surprise, but instead the first thing she says in disappointment that it is only Odin, and even says, "You can buy that at the convenience store too." Katsuo explodes inside right away. Then the girl complains that it is only autumn now and asks if eating Odin at this time is too early. That attitude makes him really angry. It turns out this is Katsuo and Tsubaki's second date. The two meet at Katsuo's home for dinner as soon as Tsubaki arrives. She first complains that there is not even red wine at his house. Then she complains about why there is no wheat gluten in the Odin. On the outside, Katsuo still keeps a polite smile as he serves food to Tsubaki, but inside he has already cursed this woman 100 times. Still, after one bite, Tsubaki says it tastes good and even the radish is full of flavor. Katsuo proudly asks right and secretly boasts to himself that he spent the whole night letting the flavor soak in. But then Tsubaki says it tastes about the same as convenience store Odin. That makes Katsuo wonder if this even counts as praise. Yet Tsubaki smiles and says that is already high praise, though it still does not compare to fancy restaurant Odin. After that, Tsubaki starts listing a whole bunch of famous Odin places she likes. But Katsuo has no interest in hearing about other people's Odin, so he asks Tsubaki if she never cooks. The girl openly says she can bake bread and boil pasta. Katsuo immediately starts picking at her, and even questions whether that can really count as cooking. Tsubaki fires back directly and says Odin is also just bought ingredients boiled together. Her poison against poison attack leaves Katsuo speechless, but he still tries to defend himself. From the point of view of the cook, he says this pot of Odin carries his feelings, and he hopes the person eating it can respect the one who cooked it. Up to this point there is still not really a big issue. But then Katsuo starts mocking Tsubaki for not knowing how to cook. Tsubaki is clearly not the type to just take that, and the argument between them quickly grows more intense. Katsuo angrily says, "The most hopeless thing is that Tsubaki does not think about others at all." Tsubaki immediately catches the fact that he called her by her name. Then Katsuo recklessly says that, to put it bluntly, her personality is bad. Tsubaki explodes on the spot and gets up to leave. Right before she goes, Katsuo still tries to add something, wanting to pull things back, but suddenly realizes this is exactly how he used to treat his ex-girlfriend. He never once thought about how the person cooking actually felt. He remembers how he used to complain that the whole table looked too brown, and say that food fresh off the stove tastes best and complain that microwave heating ruins the flavor. He even criticized repeated ingredients in the miso soup and side dishes. As he looks at Tsubaki, he suddenly feels like he is only looking at his old self, the same self Yumi saw so every single day. He had really been trampling on Yumi's heart. Only then does Tsubaki realize that the girl called Yumi is Katsuo's ex-girlfriend, so she simply suggests that the two of them go drink together and let it out, because both of them only started using dating apps after breaking up with someone they could not forget. The two talk about how they still cannot let go of their exes while unknowingly drinking a lot, and in the end they pass out and sleep until the next morning. The next day, to thank Katsuo for the Odin, Tsubaki makes her specialty natto toast. For Katsuo, accepting a strong-tasting food like this also becomes part of learning to accept new things, and along with natto toast, another totally new kind of relationship arrives. It is the first time he has had a female friend like Tsubaki. Katsuo suddenly thinks that people do not always have to be divided by man and woman. They can also just try to understand each other as people. If only he had tried harder to understand Yumi as a person when they were together. Then the story goes back to the night Katsuo and Tsubaki first met. They first met after matching on a dating app. After meeting, Katsuo originally wanted to take her to a restaurant he picked in advance. But Tsubaki seems not to listen to him at all and stubbornly drags him to a place she often goes to. When ordering food, Tsubaki also does not discuss anything with him and directly orders her favorite things. Katsuo never expected Japanese food could even be paired with red wine. He casually says that next time he wants to try making it at home himself. Hearing that, Tsubaki says in surprise that Katsuo is the kind of guy who cooks and immediately decides that their next date should be at his house because she wants to try his cooking. Meanwhile, Katsuo never gets a chance to say no from start to finish. At the end, when paying, Tsubaki ignores his protest and insists on paying herself. In fact, the way Tsubaki acts on their date is almost exactly the same way Katsuo used to treat Yumi. Katsuo tells his coworkers about what happened on this date. In truth, he and Tsubaki still do not know each other very well. So when Tsubaki casually puts the label cooking type guy on him, Katsuo feels especially uncomfortable. So this is what it feels like when someone defines you without asking. Even though he is much more complex than any label, he still gets boxed in by just one or two light words, and he realizes that he used to do the same thing to people he did not really know. After being treated that same way, Katsuo finally starts reflecting on himself. Meanwhile, Ayumi is also walking her own path of awakening. She is about to go on her first date with the liquor store clerk Minato. In the past, her style of dressing had always tried to please men, but now she decides to follow Nagisa's advice and wear clothes that make herself feel comfortable. Right now, Ayumi really likes Minato, but how does he see her? Ayumi hopes that on this date Minato will say he likes her. Ayumi, dressed in a hoodie and jeans, is a little lacking in confidence at first. But when Minato arrives, he says she looks cute today too. The man then naturally takes Ayumi's hand, and that makes the girl's heart race. The two walk around this food street together, casually, picking whatever food they want to eat. It is Ayumi's first time having such an unplanned date back when she was with Katsuo. Where they went and what they ate were all decided in advance. But when Minato enters a sweets shop for the nth time, Ayumi's smile starts becoming strained, because she actually does not really like sweet food. But Ayumi still cannot bring herself to say it. She feels that if the date is going to stay happy and smooth, then she has to endure it. Ayumi finally cannot help asking Minato what exactly they are right now. The man hesitates for a moment, and then says that he feels the two of them really get along well. After saying that, Minato walks toward yet another sweets shop that catches his eye, leaving a disappointed Ayumi standing there. Seeing that Minato is about to buy even more sweets, she still cannot say it. The words "I don't want to eat this" stay stuck in her throat. After hesitating again and again, Ayumi can only say she suddenly has something urgent, and runs away in a hurry. The girl returns home feeling down. She opens up to Nagisa saying that not a single true feeling came out of her mouth today, because she is afraid that if she says what she really thinks, people will hate her. When she was with Katsuo, she was always enduring things too. But even now she still cannot understand what her habit of enduring everything ever gave her. Nagisa takes out a box of wasabi octopus from the fridge for Ayumi to eat. Ayumi likes the spicy, sharp taste of wasabi octopus, but Nagisa says she actually does not like it herself. She only buys it sometimes because her husband, Taihei, loves it, so that is why she keeps bringing it home now and then. She really likes hearing Taihei talk about how great wasabi octopus is. He can even talk endlessly about the ratio of wasabi to octopus. What Nagisa wants to tell Ayumi is that differences between people are normal from the start, but the process of talking and understanding each other is actually interesting, and communication is the first step of understanding each other. So there is really no need to just keep enduring everything. She should simply say what she really thinks. After hearing Nagisa's words, Ayumi suddenly feels clear-headed. She feels maybe today's date with Minato can still be fixed. So the girl rushes out of the house and quickly calls Minato. She starts talking about the date earlier today and says she never truly expressed what she really felt. Actually, she does not like sweet food, but walking around and eating together really did make her happy. After hearing that, the man tells her she should have said so earlier. Then Ayumi continues and tells him that she likes him. Actually, she had always hoped that the man would confess first. That was what she had been hoping for today too. But now she has thought it through and realizes it does not matter who confesses first. She wants him to know how she feels. So she wants to personally tell Minato her feelings. She seriously calls out Mr. Minato's name and asks him to go out with her at the same time. From now on, no matter what he likes or hates, she wants him to tell her honestly. The kind of relationship Ayumi has with Minato is exactly what she wants now. He does not treat her like a good girlfriend or a good wife. Instead, he is willing to know the real her. In the past, Katsuo and Ayumi were both trapped by fixed ideas about gender. They always thought men had to be one way and women had to be another, and their growth happens little by little as they let go of those old ideas. The scene returns again to that morning when Katsuo and Tsubaki are eating natto toast together. Katsuo really wants Yumi to taste something this delicious too, especially now that he can cook as well. He wants to make a whole table of food that Yumi likes. But what exactly does Yumi like to eat? Only now does he realize he has never even asked or seriously thought about it. Katsuo regrets the old self who never truly paid attention to Yumi. He also still cares a lot about that time he saw Yumi hugging a strange man. But then he quickly denies it and thinks Yumi would never do something like that. It seems Katsuo's Showa thinking really is not something he can fully shake off so easily. Katsuo really wants to contact Yumi first, but in the end his pride makes him pull back. That night, while buying food at the supermarket, Katsuo unexpectedly sees the person he has been longing for. The man hides and secretly watches Yumi from the shadows. When the woman casually looks this way, Katsuo quickly hides himself, but fate still makes him crash right into Yumi. After a short greeting, Katsuo plans to leave, but unexpectedly Yumi stops him and says she wants to talk to him. This makes Katsuo both surprised and happy. Yumi admits that back then she broke up with him without saying anything. After that she thought about many things and felt that if she had just properly told him how she felt back then, it might have been better. Later she finally understood what it really feels like to truly like someone. She softly says Katsuo's name, and is just about to continue, but Katsuo also has something he wants to say. Yet in the very next second, Yumi tells him that she already has a new boyfriend and that she likes that person very much. At that moment Katsuo feels like he has shattered into countless pieces. He only barely keeps himself together in front of Yumi, and he keeps listening as the girl continues. When she was with him before, Yumi always measured everything by conditions, and that made her feel tired all the time. But now she is slowly changing, and the reason she started changing is actually Katsuo. That is why she has always wanted to seriously say thank you to him once more. She truly thanks him for that time in her life. Katsuo finally understands that he and Yumi are truly over. Now he cannot even find any nice or proper words anymore. He can only force out a broken sentence and say, "No, I should be the one thanking you." Tsubaki asks Katsuo out for drinks because he had already cried terribly on the phone. Unexpectedly, the place they go to is the bar run by Taihei, and Nagisa is there too. Tsubaki even asks Taihei to give Katsuo a drink so strong it feels like it could kill someone. Then Katsuo unexpectedly sees Minato come there to make a delivery. He recognizes at once that this is the man who hugged Yumi. Katsuo immediately runs after him, but Minato is already nowhere to be seen. After returning to the bar, Katsuo accidentally overhears Nagisa and Taihei talking. It turns out Mr. Minato has always been supplying alcohol there, and he was even the ex-boyfriend of 2 other regular customers there. Katsuo instantly walks over to Nagisa and Taihei in curiosity, because he wants them to keep talking. Episode 3 of Why Don't You Try Doing It ends here. This episode shows that both Katsuo and Yumi are growing in bold ways. But even while growing they are still tied down by old ideas. So growth is often not a straight line but a winding road. This man even follows his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend all the way. While following them, he cannot stop asking himself what he is even doing. Katsuo keeps struggling inside, yet he still cannot help secretly watching how Minato and Yumi act together. Minato invites Yumi to dance. Katsuo is full of shock. He really cannot believe it. In his mind Yumi could never dance. But in the very next second Yumi happily agrees. Katsuo watches with his own eyes as Yumi joins the dancing crowd with joy. He can hardly believe what he is seeing. After dancing, Minato invites Yumi to drink tequila. Katsuo is shocked all over again. In his mind Yumi would never touch that kind of drink, but Yumi still lifts the glass and even says it tastes good. This time Katsuo's whole worldview is completely shattered. In Katsuo's own words, the image of Yumi in his heart used to be gentle and cute, cheerful and cute, elegant and cute, with a bright smile and still cute. Even her pale skin becomes one more reason she is cute. It is clear that this man really does deeply love his ex-girlfriend, but now there is only Minato in Yumi's eyes. Yet at this moment Yumi still does not know that Minato is actually the kind of man who falls in love easily and breaks up easily too. All those girls here are Minato's ex-girlfriends. Yumi gets ready to leave first and naturally hugs Minato. She even says, "I'll wait for you at home." This scene makes Katsuo feel even more broken. He cannot believe that Yumi is already living together with another man this quickly. But that smile on Yumi's face keeps staying in his mind. The man pulls out old photos and only then realizes that Yumi never seemed this happy when she was with him. A photo of Omiris in the album catches his eye. He remembers that it was the first meal Yumi made for him after they started living together. He curiously asked what she was making, but the girl only kept it a secret. When it was finally done, he exclaimed in surprise that the Omiris looked just like something from a restaurant. He kept praising her and saying she was amazing. Yumi just felt a little shy, but he still felt very touched and even wanted to eat it right away. Yet the girl stopped him because she was still worrying about whether the ketchup words would fit. When he saw the final result, Katsuo instantly thought it was incredibly cute, and even told her to wait a second because he wanted to take a picture. First, Yumi felt it was not even worth taking a picture of, but he said it was because she had made it for him by hand. The girl only felt that he was being too dramatic and smiled and said she would keep making it for him in the future. That happy time now seems to exist only as a memory. Katsuo decides to copy Yumi and make Omiris himself. Meanwhile, Yumi returns alone to the home she shares with Minato. She still cannot stop caring about the relationship between those two girls and Minato, but soon after she talks herself into thinking that a good girlfriend should not mind small things like that. Yet the moment that thought appears, she realizes she is forcing herself again. Then Minato sends a message saying that he will be home later. Yumi worries that he will go hungry, so she decides to personally make Omiris for him. And like that, in two different places, Katsuo and Yumi strangely end up in sync. They make the same Omiris recipe at the same time. In his heart, Katsuo thinks I really want to eat the food she made, while in her heart Yumi thinks I really want to make this for him. But sadly the man Yumi is thinking about now is already Minato. Katsuo eats his ugly-looking Omiris alone and Yumi writes Minato's name on her Omiris with ketchup, then waits for him to come home by herself. But the man does not come back until very late in the night. When he sees the Omiris Yumi made, he really is touched. But sadly he already ate too much that night, and cannot eat anymore. After work that day, Katsuo asks his coworker Minamikawa to go buy tequila with him, because seeing Yumi so happy while drinking tequila makes him want to understand the current Yumi a little more. But unexpectedly they walk into Minato's shop by pure chance. Katsuo freezes on the spot and Minato also recognizes who he is. He even directly asks if he is Yumi's boyfriend. Minamikawa cuts in with a shocked face saying she cannot even explain whether they count as friends. But Minato sharply guesses that this person must be the ex-boyfriend. After hearing that title, Minato stays completely natural and even introduces himself first. Katsuo also politely responds. Minato originally wants to just give this bottle of alcohol to Katsuo, but Katsuo stubbornly refuses to accept it. As someone who sells alcohol, Minato casually gives a reminder, this drink is strong, so don't force yourself. And if you really cannot drink it, the line if you can drink it instantly stirs up Katsuo. He even feels like Minato is testing him. Minato adds that even if he cannot finish it, that is fine. There are lower alcohol drinks too, but Katsuo insists in pride that he has no problem at all. Katsuo drinks tequila for the first time and finds that it tastes much better than he imagined. He had thought it would be some shallow kind of alcohol, but it is nothing like that, and when Yumi first drank tequila she had a very similar reaction. Katsuo hesitates and calls out to Minato. It is obvious that he wants to ask something. What he wants to ask is Minato's relationship with Yumi. But when the words reach his mouth he feels he has no right to ask. Yet Minato directly tells him that the two of them are dating and are even already living together, and that he truly loves Yumi. These 3 short sentences feel like 3 knives stabbing into Katsuo's heart, but he can only pretend nothing is wrong, and keep drinking to hide his pain. On an autumn night it suddenly starts to rain hard. At home, Yumi is making dinner for Minato and thinks about bringing him an umbrella over here. Minato serves a potato omelet for Katsuo and Minamikawa to try. Minamikawa says in surprise that she did not expect Minato to be able to cook too. Minato quickly, modestly, explains that he can only make simple things and that Yumi taught him this dish. That hits Katsuo painfully once again. He slowly realizes that Minato and himself are completely different kinds of men. So does Yumi actually like this kind of cute guy? Minato gets called away by other customers and Katsuo begins to feel a little drunk himself. He feels so miserable that he squats down on the spot. This makes both Minamikawa and the returning Minato think he is crying. Katsuo still forces himself to say out loud that he is not crying, but in truth his heart is already full of tears. He softly murmurs Yumi's name and asks Minato to please make sure to eat the meals she makes. because her cooking is really delicious and he hopes Minato will always finish it seriously. Minato sincerely agrees. Then Katsuo continues talking about the things he was never able to do for Yumi, and the things he never even once thought about. He hopes Minato can do more of those things for her. He entrusts Yumi to him with full seriousness. Minato is moved and softly calls out to him, then answers that everything will be alright. But in Minato's eyes, Yumi does not need someone to take care of her. This conversation feels like two men from the Showa era and the Reiwa era having a silent exchange across time. If Katsuo is a Showa fossil man, then Minato truly feels more like a light Reiwa-style guy. He can quickly enter a new relationship and also stay on good terms with his exes. In love, he always keeps a state that looks passive but is actually active, just like in his relationship with Yumi. The words liking each other, dating and living together all almost came from Yumi. First, Minato goes out to make a delivery. Before leaving, he leaves the key with Katsuo and the others and tells them to wait until the rain stops. He also says that if they get thirsty, they can take water from the fridge. Later, Minamikawa also leaves because she has something to do, so Katsuo ends up alone in the shop. At the same time, Minato runs into one of his ex-girlfriends while loading goods, and here Katsuo opens the fridge for water and sees the omurice Yumi made for Minato. Meanwhile, Yumi also reaches the area near the liquor store in the rain with the umbrella, and then she sees Minato wiping another girl's hair. Then the two drive away together. Yumi comforts herself and thinks maybe she only saw it wrong, but she still runs toward the liquor store in a hurry, and the person locking up is actually Katsuo. Yumi is extremely surprised. Katsuo quickly explains that he only happened to come here and also tells her that Mr. Minato just went out to make a delivery. The moment she hears the words delivery, Yumi understands right away that what she saw earlier was real. She becomes confused and hurt at once. She still says with her mouth that she wants to wait here, but then quickly changes her mind and says, forget it. She feels that suddenly coming here and deciding to wait on her own is just too strange. After apologizing in a flustered way, she still decides to leave and says she will wait for him at home. But that forced calm cannot hide her disappointment anymore. She even forces herself to say that she actually is not taking it to heart at all. Katsuo has never seen a Yumi like this before, so he worriedly runs after her. But Yumi shuts his concern out completely. Katsuo can only watch her walk away and once again truly feel that Yumi is moving farther and farther away from him. Even so, he still really wants to meet Yumi again. This whole breakdown while cooking really looks like many people's real life. He keeps crying out because he gets burned, then keeps yelling in pain. He is close to collapsing completely, and even gets scared of the oil to the point of trauma. He thinks of how his ex-girlfriend Yumi always looked calm and steady when frying chicken. But no matter what, he cannot understand what exactly he is doing wrong. After work, Katsuo comes to the supermarket with two coworkers to buy ingredients. They are going to challenge making chicken tempura again. And just like that, Katsuo, Yumi and Minato run into each other once more at the supermarket. The atmosphere is awkward, since these people really should not have crossed paths again. After a simple greeting, everyone is about to leave, but suddenly Katsuo thinks of something. He quickly walks up to Yumi and actually asks his ex to teach him how to make chicken tempura. It turns out the person who wants to eat Yumi's chicken tempura is actually Katsuo's older brother, and his brother is taking a flight home tonight. Yumi looks troubled, but Minato starts stirring things up from the side and even says he also wants to eat tempura made by Yumi. So Yumi can only agree. Then the group goes to Katsuo's home. Minato and Minamikawa start playing Jenga in the living room, while Yumi seriously teaches cooking in the kitchen. First she asks Katsuo to cut the chicken breast into pieces, then she asks Shirasaki to grind garlic. Yumi watches Katsuo cutting the meat. Though his movements are clumsy, he is very serious. Only then does she realize that the man who once never touched housework has really learned how to cook. What troubles Katsuo most is that he can never make the tempura batter right. So Yumi patiently teaches him. Tempura batter should not be too sticky. Instead, it should stay a little thin and light. That is the only way the fried tempura will feel light and crisp. After understanding that, Katsuo immediately starts mixing the flour and egg with great force. This time Yumi just takes over and shows him the right way with her own hands. Luckily, Katsuo learns quickly and picks it up soon. He excitedly prepares to start frying, but Yumi stops him right away because his hands must be dry first, or the oil will splash. Only then does Katsuo understand that the reason the oil had been splashing before was exactly this. He feels more and more that Yumi is really amazing. Seeing this, Shirasaki can only excuse himself by pretending to make a call and quietly step out of this temporary family. Then Katsuo and Ayumi officially enter the tempura frying stage. The man suddenly feels a little dazed. This really seems like the first time he has ever truly cooked together with Ayumi, so he sincerely thanks her. The atmosphere here becomes so good that even Minamikawa in the living room notices it. After breaking up, it strangely feels like they have finally found the best way to get along. The golden and crispy chicken tempura is finally done, but Katsuo is already running out of time to catch his brother's flight. Still, the man suddenly feels like something is missing. He suddenly remembers that his brother loves to eat chicken tempura with yuzu pepper, and right at this moment there is none in the house. Ayumi casually says that there should still be some at her place. That phrase "our place" makes Katsuo freeze for a second, and by the time he comes back to himself, Ayumi and Minato are already preparing to head out. So everyone decides to split into two groups. One group will deliver the tempura and the other group will bring the yuzu pepper. Even though they are only delivering one serving of food, it somehow feels like a life-and-death rescue mission. The reason Katsuo is so obsessed with helping his brother is that a few days ago, when they ate together, his brother had looked gloomy the whole time, as if something heavy was on his mind. Both brothers were taught by their father since childhood that a man must stand strong and must never show weakness in front of others. But now Katsuo often reflects on that old, toxic masculinity. He also understands that his brother is just like his old self, always carrying everything alone after all. His brother always likes to say he calls Katsuo's name, then comments that the colors of the food on the table are too dull, while the other person habitually apologizes, and his brother also always says that it is only a suggestion. That is why Katsuo really wants to help him. At the airport, Katsuo finally says what is in his heart to his brother. He tells him that this tempura was made by his own hands, but without other people's help he never could have made it taste this good. So he hopes that when his brother has worries he can also learn to ask others for help. But of course his brother does not take it in, and no one expects Katsuo to suddenly burst into tears right there. His brother even looks annoyed and asks what there is to cry about. But this time Katsuo stubbornly says that he just wants to cry. While crying he pours out all of his worries for his brother, and standing beside them, Ayumi is also seeing Katsuo cry like this for the first time before. When Nagisa told her she had seen Katsuo crying so much in a bar that his eyes were swollen, Ayumi did not believe it at all. In her mind, Katsuo had always been the kind of man who would lock his tears in a safe and sink the key into the sea. But Nagisa once reminded her that maybe there was a side of Katsuo she did not know. And now Ayumi finally believes it. Katsuo really can cry too. In the end, his brother still leaves, leaving behind Katsuo still crying there. Even he himself cannot tell whether these tears are for his brother or for the pain of heartbreak these past days. Meanwhile, Ayumi and Minato's relationship also does not seem as smooth as expected. Ayumi sees Minato with another girl with her own eyes after returning home. She still cannot stop thinking wildly about their relationship. Just when she thinks her boyfriend might not come home all night, Minato actually comes back with that girl. The moment the girl hears that Ayumi is making bread, she is immediately impressed and can hardly believe that Ayumi actually makes bread by hand. She even praises Ayumi for being extremely caring and capable, and also says Ayumi's cooking tastes especially good. Then, right on the spot, she says she wants to try it too and directly asks if she can eat some. Ayumi suddenly cannot understand what this whole situation is supposed to be. All she can see is that the girl and Minato act very naturally together. The girl casually starts talking about what happened tonight, saying that Minato really saved her, and the two of them even look more like a couple. She even says that tonight they are going to drink until morning together. This finally makes Ayumi ask what exactly the relationship between them is. The girl openly admits that they really did date before, but now there is nothing between them anymore, and Minato only laughs and jokes about the ex-relationship. But even in front of his current girlfriend the man is still so close with his ex, and that still makes Ayumi feel very uncomfortable. She suddenly feels that her life has only changed from cooking for Katsuo to cooking for Minato. But Minato comes home late every day, and she is always silently waiting at home that night when Minato comes back. He even says he ran all the way because he wanted to see Ayumi sooner. After that the man goes to take a shower first, but Ayumi hears his phone ring. After hesitating again and again, she still picks up Minato's phone and sees a message from that girl saying they should find another time to meet, even if there is no romantic feeling between them. That message still bothers Ayumi a lot, but she comforts herself and thinks maybe Minato is only too gentle and does not know how to reject people. Of course, putting all that worry aside, Ayumi still really enjoys the time she spends alone with Minato. But one day, when lunchtime is near, the man simply puts on his coat by himself, even though Ayumi had already planned to eat with him. Minato says his friends invited him first. In her heart the girl keeps repeating, "Don't go, don't go." But in the end she still smiles and says, "Be careful on the way." Still, Ayumi's endurance finally reaches its limit. One day, while the girl is cooking, she hears Minato answer a call from his ex-girlfriend. Then the man even tells Ayumi himself that he is going out to see his ex. Ayumi finally cannot stop herself, and calls out to him. She directly says she does not want that, and hopes Minato will stop meeting people he used to date because that would bother her very much. The truth is, this kind of thing really does bother her, and she gets jealous too. She is not nearly as generous as she once imagined, so she hopes he will not go. After hearing that, Minato agrees right away and says that if Ayumi does not like something then he will not do it. Only then does Ayumi realize that if she just says what she really feels, problems can really be solved this easily. That night the two eat a very delicious meal together. After the meal, Minato takes the initiative to wash the dishes, and Ayumi's heart softens because of that. While washing dishes, Minato says that he will try to make more time for her in the future, but he also honestly admits that he is not very good at changing the rhythm of his life. Ayumi casually says that after getting married things would probably change. That sentence instantly makes Minato's hands stop moving, but Ayumi does not notice the change in his feelings at all. All she sees is that the smile on Minato's face suddenly turns strained. That night Minato seriously says he wants to talk to Ayumi. Ayumi still does not know what is happening, but Minato gets right to the point and says, "Let's break up." Minato formally breaks up with Ayumi. The main reason is that he has never had any wish to get married, but he has already noticed that Ayumi is actually someone who wants marriage. If they keep dating then Ayumi will only keep holding on to false hope, and that would actually be unfair to her. After being suddenly broken up with, Ayumi lowers her head deeply just when Minato does not know what to do. Ayumi calmly says she understands and even thanks Minato for this time together. Minato is clearly stunned. He even calls out to her and says she can stay until she finds a new place. But Ayumi says it is alright. She only answers calmly then says goodbye in a clean and direct way. I really like this side of Ayumi where she packs her things neatly and leaves without turning back. She originally wants to go find Nagisa, but sees Nagisa and her husband together with her mother, so she feels it would not be right to disturb them. Now, in the end the girl can only hide by herself in a karaoke room eating snacks and drinking at the company. That day the supervisor brings sweets for everyone and all the coworkers get excited. Minamikawa in particular happily takes pictures to record it, but Katsuo cannot help complaining that he just does not understand the feeling of always having to take pictures and show everything. Minamikawa argues back and says she is not announcing it to the whole world. Her account is not even public, only close people can see it. But Katsuo goes on and asks if she really has that many close people. So Minamikawa coldly snaps back that he will never see it in this lifetime. It seems Katsuo's male chauvinism really cannot be changed overnight. Still, what makes him different from many other men is that at least he can still listen when people tell him something. Meanwhile, Ayumi finally rents a new place. Even though the room is small and almost empty, it is truly the first room in her life that really belongs to her. At night, Ayumi makes pasta for herself, but without thinking she accidentally makes enough for 2 people. On the other side, Katsuo cooks ramen for himself. He remembers Minamikawa taking pictures of food and posting them online earlier that day, so he cannot help taking a picture of his own cooking too. And once he starts doing something like that, Katsuo cannot help wanting to make everything perfect. At the same time, Minamikawa, who is out on a date at a restaurant, suddenly sees Minato eating there with another girl. She immediately storms over and sharply demands to know if the man is cheating. Only then does Minato honestly explain that he and Ayumi already broke up. This surprises Minamikawa a lot. For a moment she wonders if she should tell Katsuo about it. But by now Katsuo is completely lost in running his food account and does not even know what is going on around him. So Minamikawa never finds a chance to say it. After work Katsuo goes out to eat with Tsubaki. Even Tsubaki highly praises Katsuo's food account. She is preparing a house party soon, so she invites Katsuo to come with the food he made and says maybe he will even meet someone nice there on the outside. Katsuo still firmly refuses. but the moment he gets home he starts searching for foods suitable for a party. Meanwhile, Minamikawa runs into Minato again. She really cannot understand why Minato broke up with Yumi, but Minato only lightly replies that it is a long story. Minamikawa thinks that if it was only casual then breaking up early might not be a bad thing, but the moment she says that, Minato's face turns serious and sad. He says very seriously that he was never just fooling around. That only makes Minamikawa realize that she spoke too carelessly to prepare for Tsubaki's party. Katsuo makes soup dumplings in advance. At this point he is very confident in his cooking skill, and this also happens to be the day Yumi goes with coworkers to a group blind date. The coworkers are all surprised by Yumi's hair color. Yumi shyly explains that she usually wears a wig at work. Over here Katsuo brings out the soup dumplings, but someone mistakes them for shumai. So Katsuo quickly corrects them and says these are soup dumplings. Everyone then gets ready to eat, but right away he adds, wait a second, the first bite should be dipped in salt. Yet other people think soy sauce tastes better. Katsuo still insists that without salt you cannot taste the dashi flavor. He even arranges for everyone that the second bite should be dipped in vinegar. In the end someone helplessly says, everyone should just eat however they like. Only then do people finally start eating while it is hot. But Katsuo still cannot stop stressing that salt is the best and strongly recommends salt once again. Over there, Yumi also begins her passive blind date meeting. The man in front of her throws one question after another at Yumi like it is a job interview, and this makes her feel very uncomfortable over here. Katsuo notices that quite a lot of the soup dumplings he made are still left. Some people have not even finished half of one. He cannot help sighing that it is such a waste. Then he makes an excuse that he has something to do and leaves the party early. Meanwhile, at the blind date, Yumi also looks at the untouched food on the table and feels it is a waste. Of course no one came here to eat in the first place. Just as Yumi is about to get a little food for herself, another male guest comes over to talk to her. This man has quite good conditions and Yumi instinctively feels that he would probably make a good marriage partner. But in the very next moment she realizes she is again thinking only about how to become someone else's choice. She is trying hard only to be chosen without seriously thinking about what kind of life she herself wants. So Yumi leaves the event feeling down. While wandering aimlessly, both Yumi and Katsuo are drawn to newly arrived cooking books in the library and the two of them walk into the same library without planning it. Then they unexpectedly bump into each other. Yumi softly says his name and Katsuo is frozen in the same way. Then Yumi returns something to him and Katsuo quietly thanks her. The two bend down together to pick up the books scattered on the floor. Then Yumi notices that one of them is the novel Katsuo once read halfway through in college, and that makes them remember a past conversation about what books they liked. Back then Yumi said she often read recipe books and art books, so Katsuo curiously asked if she liked cooking. Yumi smiled and said she was good at making chikuzeni. The moment he hears that, Katsuo instantly gets excited and keeps saying he absolutely loves chikuzeni. His overly excited reaction even startles Yumi, so she asks with an amused smile, "What is wrong?" Katsuo can only pretend nothing is wrong but still cannot stop saying that chikuzeni is his favorite food. Yumi hears that and feels happy too. She even immediately says she will make it for him next time. The past now feels like it has already become distant smoke. Yumi suddenly feels a little dizzy when she stands up because she has barely eaten anything all day. Katsuo immediately thinks of the soup dumplings he just brought out. Yumi also praises that the soup dumplings he made look really good. But without thinking, Katsuo starts repeating the same first salt, then vinegar lecture he used at the party. He only realizes halfway through that he is being far too long-winded. Unexpectedly, Yumi wants him to keep going. Encouraged by that, Katsuo more seriously explains the order of soy sauce, wasabi and sesame oil. Yumi even starts to think this side of Katsuo is kind of cute, so she follows his suggested order one by one. Katsuo nervously asks her how it tastes. Yumi immediately nods happily. She even guesses that maybe he made the dashi himself too. Katsuo is surprised that she can tell. Yumi smiles and says it is because the flavor is just different. She then also tries vinegar and soy sauce and thinks that tastes good too. Hearing all these compliments, Katsuo becomes unbelievably happy. He even openly says that he only started learning to cook so that Yumi could eat the food he made. In this happy moment, Katsuo also cannot help eating together with Yumi. He remarks that the soup dumplings still taste good, even after they cool down. Yumi even picks up the bits of skin stuck to the steaming paper instead of wasting them. And after seeing that Katsuo does the same, This moment becomes a quiet understanding that belongs only to the two of them. Only now does Katsuo realize that Ayumi can actually eat a lot. Ayumi admits that she had always been pretending to have a small appetite before hearing. That makes Katsuo feel a sudden pain inside. But the girl understands that this is not really anyone else's fault. It is simply what she herself wanted to do back then. But even now she still does not truly know what she wants. She once thought that if she changed her hair color, her life would change too. But in reality she is still depending on other people. Ayumi feels that this version of herself is really foolish and sad. But Katsuo firmly tells her that she is not foolish at all and not sad in that way at all. That has always been true, from the past until now. Both the food Katsuo made and the words he says give Ayumi some new strength to keep moving forward. Right before they part, Katsuo casually asks about Minato. Out of politeness, Ayumi goes silent for a moment, but in the end she tells him that she has already broken up with Minato. The man clearly wants to say more, but then Nagisa suddenly contacts Ayumi, so the girl can only leave in a hurry, leaving behind a totally shocked Katsuo. It turns out Nagisa already heard that Ayumi and Minato broke up and she is extremely worried about Ayumi. Nagisa tells her that of course breaking up with someone you like makes you sad and drained, but Ayumi has been carrying all of that by herself this whole time, which is actually already very brave. At times like this she should cry and curse him as a total jerk. So Nagisa starts first and calls Minato a jerk, but Ayumi feels that this is too embarrassing. Nagisa immediately says that even that embarrassed feeling should be shouted out. With Nagisa leading her, she also asks Ayumi to curse along with her at first. Ayumi really cannot let go, so Nagisa keeps urging her to shout louder. The two practice again and again, and Nagisa even says Ayumi's voice still lacks force, until Ayumi's feelings are finally fully lit up. Only then is Nagisa satisfied and the two of them start shouting louder and louder, like they are trying to throw out all the emotions they held in for so long. Ayumi finally lets herself go too. She keeps cursing Minato over and over as a jerk, and at last that anger she had kept buried for so long finally comes out. In the end Ayumi even shouts emotionally, "Minato, you total jerk." Ayumi goes to Nagisa's shop again. This time she already has a hairstyle she truly wants to try. After that Ayumi goes to Minato's home to pick up the things she left behind. She still speaks a little awkwardly and Minato compliments her new hair color, saying it suits her. Ayumi politely thanks him and tells him that this choice was one she made herself. When Shirasaki hears Ayumi broke up, he is very surprised. Compared to him, Minamikawa is much calmer. Shirasaki cannot help guessing whether this means Katsuo now has another chance to get back together with Ayumi. Hearing that, Katsuo himself actually laughs first, but still denies it, and says he is not the kind of person who would take advantage of someone at a weak moment. At that time a call comes from home, but Katsuo does not answer it. So he does not know that his parents have already told relatives that he will bring his girlfriend home next time, and that marriage is near. On the other side, Katsuo and Ayumi once again end up on the same plane back to their hometown. Fate seems to place the two of them side by side once more. Time moves to October 31st, 2025, but the story actually goes back a few days earlier, the 49th day after the failed proposal. Katsuo feels no happiness at all about going back home for the holiday. On the contrary, he is full of worry only because his mother keeps urging him on the phone to hurry up and marry Yumi. But he still has not been able to tell his parents that they already broke up. His co-workers even think his sad face is because he is going back home for a wedding. They just do not know what he should perform there. So the section chief actually suggests he dance samba. In the section chief's words, no matter what hard thing happens, if you start dancing samba you can get through it. Meanwhile, Ayumi discovers that her sister actually joined a dating reality show, and even used the bad family relationship as material for the program. This makes Ayumi feel deeply embarrassed. Even more shocking, Tsubaki is on the same show. Tsubaki even proudly talks in front of Katsuo about how perfectly she performed on the program. But Katsuo is too shocked to care because he sees Ayumi's sister on the show. After returning to his hometown, Katsuo sits face to face with his father, like one older jerk and one older old jerk. The father and son both do not know how to start talking to each other. Just when the atmosphere becomes unbearably awkward, Katsuo suddenly remembers his coworker once saying that when things get hard you should dance samba. So he actually starts encouraging himself inside and gets ready to use samba to break the tension. But before he can even begin, his father suddenly cuts him off first and complains that a man should not move around nervously like that. He tells him to sit properly and steadily. Meanwhile, while his mother is cooking in the kitchen, Katsuo for the first time goes over to watch, just out of interest. He even tells her that he has recently been learning to cook. His mother is greatly surprised and even thinks that he and Yumi must have had a fight. Katsuo had been planning to use this chance to say that they already broke up, but just as he starts to speak, his mother excitedly begins talking about how much she wants to personally teach Yumi how to cook. Seeing that hopeful look on his mother's face, Katsuo swallows the truth back again. On the other side, Yumi also returns home. She complains to her sister about why she had to bring family matters onto the show, making her feel extremely embarrassed. But her sister looks especially carefree and bluntly says that Yumi's way of always living by looking at others' faces is exhausting. At dinner time, their mother suddenly tells Yumi that she already arranged a meeting between their family and Katsuo's parents. Yumi is stunned on the spot. She urgently wants to say that she and Katsuo already broke up. But before she can finish, her mother is already dreaming about her daughter marrying into wealth. Even her sister joins in and says she wants to see what kind of man Yumi chose, with her whole life on the line. Yumi tries to interrupt several times, but they keep cutting her off. At the same time, Katsuo also learns at the dinner table that the two families have already arranged an official meeting. He completely breaks down, and immediately asks his parents why they made such a decision on their own. His father is clearly unhappy with his son's attitude, and sternly lectures him that marriage is a matter between two families. On the other side, Yumi also tries to speak the truth, but her mother is busy showing off to others that her younger daughter is about to marry into Ebihara construction. Seeing his father excitedly choosing ties only makes Katsuo even less able to open his mouth. The next day, Katsuo and Yumi both appear at a mutual friend's wedding. They take this chance to privately discuss the meeting between the two families. In the end, they decide that when the time comes, they will say everything clearly together in person, because, compared to facing the storm alone, having the other person there might make it a little easier. On the day of the official meeting, Katsuo and Yumi start practicing before either family arrives. Neither of them knows how to begin, so they decide to rehearse once first, pretending that everyone is already there. Then they start speaking according to the plan. Yumi seriously copies a very formal speech style and solemnly announces that the two of them have decided to break up. She even tries to describe their meeting as something that will nourish their future growth, and at the end she does not forget to add a long chain of polite closing words. In Yumi's mind, this has to be said all at once, in one breath, or they will easily miss the best chance. Then it is Katsuo's turn to practice properly. He begins repeating the first part, and finally reaches the breakup part with difficulty. But the very next line gets stuck. He even becomes so nervous that he cannot breathe and can only take deep breaths to adjust himself. He still tries to force himself to continue, but the more Yumi urges him, the more panicked he gets. His words break off halfway again, and in the end he even awkwardly lets out a hiccup. Right when the two of them are practicing in total chaos, Ayumi's mother and sister arrive first and even misunderstand Katsuo and Yumi as secretly being affectionate together. They even sigh that this young couple gets along so well. The only strange thing is that Ayumi's father still has not appeared, for some reason. As they talk, Katsuo's parents arrive too. The two families even bring gifts that symbolize a long-lasting relationship. Seeing their parents looking so full of expectation only makes Katsuo and Ayumi feel more suffocated. Once they are seated at the gathering, Ayumi's mother cannot help asking whether Katsuo will inherit the company in the future. That question embarrasses Yumi terribly on the spot. Katsuo, however, feels that maybe now is the best chance to tell the truth, so he gathers his courage and says there is something they must tell everyone. He starts speaking about himself and Yumi, but before he can finish, his father suddenly cuts in and starts talking about how he is only the third son in the family, then smoothly moves on to how the eldest son will become president next year. Before anyone knows it, the parents' topic has jumped directly to wedding timing. They are even almost ready to start planning invitation cards. Katsuo panics and keeps trying to stop them, insisting that he really has something important to say. Only then do people finally ask what it is. So he gathers his courage again and starts speaking about himself and Yumi. Just as he is about to say that they already broke up, a new voice suddenly comes from the door. It turns out Yumi's father has finally arrived at this moment. Katsuo's mother even says it must be hard for him to still be working on a weekday. But Yumi's sister mercilessly exposes him and says he was actually out fishing. Then she gets more and more carried away and brings up that her father is always either fishing or playing mahjong. She also scolds him for not caring at all about family matters. Ayumi can only anxiously tell her sister to stop. She even mouths an apology to Katsuo, and Katsuo uses the same silent way to comfort her. Ayumi's mother quickly steps in to smooth things over and pushes all the blame onto her husband, saying none of this is Ayumi's fault, it is all because of her father. Then her father immediately refuses to back down, and even directly tells Katsuo that when choosing a wife he must be careful. Just like that, the ugliest side of their family is suddenly dragged out into the open. Ayumi feels unbearably embarrassed and hurt, and in order to ease the mood, her mother even starts putting Ayumi down in public. She lightly says that her daughter is really the kind of child who gives people no end of trouble. But at that moment Katsuo seriously takes over and says that even if Ayumi never marries someone like him, she can still live well on her own, stand on her own and make her own choices, because she is great at cooking and also handles housework and work very well and is even physically strong. Everyone is instantly confused by that physically strong line, but Katsuo seriously explains that she can even squeeze grapefruit juice with one hand with no trouble. No matter what happens, Ayumi will definitely find a way to solve it herself, and that is exactly why he came to like her. After hearing these words, both families end up feeling touched and even praise that Yumi really found a good man in the end. The fact that they already broke up still never gets said. Katsuo's mother even feels very comforted, believing that her son has finally become brave since he dared to propose to Yumi in a situation like this. And at that moment Yumi also remembers why she had been so obsessed with marriage, because she grew up seeing her parents' relationship go badly, so she always wanted a happy family of her own. She absolutely did not want to end up like her parents. After that, Katsuo and his second older brother's family go together to an amusement park and he also invites Yumi, who does not want to go home. His second brother's family has a very relaxed and comfortable atmosphere around them. At noon everyone eats bento together and Katsuo once again cannot stop commenting on the food. He even talks in detail about how the sweetness and sourness of kimchi balance the flavor of liver. This immediately makes his second brother tell him to shut up and eat instead of doing a food review. But Katsuo says he is only expressing his feelings about good food. His second brother clearly does not agree. He even says directly that he always hated how their father used to judge the food their mother made. He even copies their father's old tone, saying that all the dishes look brown and insisting the color balance should be improved, while their mother would always obediently say she would pay more attention next time. Only then does Katsuo realize that even though he always treated his father as a bad example, he still unknowingly became like him. This discovery leaves him stunned on the spot. He finally admits that maybe he has been unconsciously imitating his father all along. Then his second brother's daughter pulls Ayumi to go play catch. Katsuo says from the side that Ayumi has always been good at ball sports and that her form is very pretty too. People nearby can easily tell that Katsuo really does like Ayumi very much. Soon, only Katsuo and his second brother are left on the field. Katsuo remarks that his niece seems a little boyish, but his second brother tells him that his daughter likes playing catch more than dolls and likes blue more than pink. She is only choosing the things she likes, not choosing them because of gender. But their grandparents always like to keep talking about how a girl should be. So what his second brother really wants is for his daughter to stay the way she is now and not be shaken by other people's judgments. Because of that, their family even chose to visit the grandparents less often. The day slowly comes to an end. Katsuo suddenly feels that it was actually good to meet Ayumi's parents today. Even though they dated for many years, he still knew almost nothing about Ayumi's family. Ayumi then honestly says that part of that was because she had deliberately hidden it, since she used to think that having a harmonious family was also part of being a good girlfriend. And today, watching that little girl live freely as herself gives Ayumi many thoughts. She also wants to try living according to her own feelings, not to rebel against her parents, but to stop using her parents' standards as the ruler for her own life. So Ayumi finally makes up her mind to seriously tell her parents that she and Katsuo already broke up. Before leaving she seriously thanks Katsuo, and says she was really happy today. Katsuo answers that he felt the same that night. There is rare laughter at Katsuo's family dinner table. But then Katsuo suddenly interrupts his parents, with a serious face. He says he will not marry Yumi and frankly tells them the two of them broke up a long time ago. His father freezes and Katsuo continues saying they actually separated a long time ago and no longer live together either. This sudden truth shocks everyone in the house. His mother can hardly believe it and keeps asking again and again if this is a lie. Katsuo can only apologize over and over, admitting that he was never able to say it. But his father angrily says that once a man makes a decision, how can he go back on it at the very last moment, and still look this calm while doing it? Katsuo can only give a bitter smile and say that he is not calm at all. His father only gets angrier, and directly says enough. He even says he no longer expects anything from this son. His mother also keeps repeating that she cannot believe it, and Katsuo can only say sorry again. But in his parents' eyes all of this is too outrageous, and all he has left to say is sorry, again and again. His mother simply cannot accept it at all, while his father pretends on the surface that he does not care. But his mother turns her anger toward Yumi's choice, thinking that her daughter finally found a man with conditions as good as Katsuo's. This time, however, Yumi tells her mother very clearly that she wants to choose her own life herself. The sister who overhears this conversation instead feels very comforted, because it is the first time she has ever heard Yumi say her real thoughts so boldly. After that, Katsuo prepares to return to Tokyo, and before leaving he helps his mother wash dishes for the first time. But then he unexpectedly finds instant seasoning powder in the kitchen. At first he thinks maybe his father has finally become more tolerant, but unexpectedly his mother quietly tells him to please keep it a secret for her. After returning to Tokyo, Katsuo goes out to eat with Tsubaki. Tsubaki asks him whether telling his parents about the breakup was a good thing or a bad thing for him. Yet Katsuo cannot help remembering the smile on Ayumi's face when they parted. Tsubaki notices the change in his expression and immediately guesses that maybe something new has developed between the two of them. Katsuo denies it with his mouth, but the smile on his face simply cannot be hidden. Maybe he really already feels that Yumi is starting to open her heart to him again. That day Tsubaki is going to pretend to be Katsuo's girlfriend and go meet his parents with him. Katsuo's mother becomes overjoyed the moment she sees this tall and pretty daughter-in-law. She even complains that Katsuo should have told her earlier that he found such a wonderful girlfriend. Katsuo can only awkwardly explain that he was just shy. Tsubaki also helps smooth things over by saying that Katsuo has always had this gentle and slow kind of personality. Then Katsuo's mother immediately asks how exactly the two of them met. Tsubaki almost blurts out that they matched on an app, but hurriedly changes it and says they were introduced by a senior at work. Katsuo quickly backs her up from the side and somehow manages to cover the lie. Once Katsuo's mother goes to the kitchen to cook, Katsuo quietly tells Tsubaki once again that she should not say anything. They did not prepare in advance, or they will easily get found out. The reason Tsubaki agrees to pretend to be Katsuo's girlfriend is because after Katsuo's mother left home, she moved straight into Katsuo's place. Every day she carefully cooks and does housework for her son. Of course Katsuo is grateful, but as time goes on his life starts feeling more and more uncomfortable. Yet, no matter what, he cannot bring himself to say, please leave. And his mother has said that if Katsuo gets a girlfriend then she will go. So in the end Katsuo can only ask his only female friend to help act in this whole scene. At that moment his mother calls Tsubaki into the kitchen to help. Having never cooked before, Tsubaki can only go over with the feeling of walking to her death. His mother starts sighing that cooking is really something girls are naturally better at. But the moment she sees how Tsubaki cuts vegetables, she understands this girl cannot cook at all. Tsubaki quickly explains that she actually cooks often. It is just that she usually cooks Italian food and does not really know Japanese home cooking. So his mother naturally begins her lecture mode. She tells Tsubaki that Japanese food is still the healthiest for the body and that after getting married she absolutely must learn Japanese home cooking. She can start by learning simple stewed dishes. His mother even says she is willing to teach her everything. After hearing all that, Tsubaki says nothing much and only keeps a polite smile. Then his mother directly asks her when she plans to marry Katsuo. Tsubaki is instantly stunned by the question, and can only stammer that they just started dating. But his mother keeps going with her countryside ideas, saying that her son being single has always been the thing she worries about most. And if they are going to marry then of course the sooner the better. She even brings up how hard childbirth is for older mothers and starts making plans about when they will have children. She even drags their ages into the topic and says that dragging things out too long is no good. At this point Katsuo finally cannot help calling out mom, but his mother only looks confused and asks what is wrong. So Katsuo can only forcefully cut off the topic by telling her to go drink some tea first. Meanwhile Yumi also receives a big box of vegetables sent from home, and her mother specially tells her that she must share some with Katsuo. Over on the other side, dinner is starting at Katsuo's home too. After tasting Katsuo's mother's cooking, Tsubaki immediately says it is really delicious. She even blurts out that maybe learning to cook from her would actually be nice. The moment the words leave her mouth, Tsubaki realizes she said the wrong thing, because that indirectly admits she was not sincerely planning to learn Japanese home cooking before. Katsuo's mother also realizes at the same time that the things she said earlier were not appropriate. She starts reflecting that she has already become the kind of awful mother-in-law she hated in the past. She remembers how, when she was young, her own mother-in-law always made endless rules for her, and kept nagging all day about having grandchildren. That made her feel deeply annoyed. Back then she had once sworn that she would absolutely never become that kind of person. After dinner, Tsubaki gets ready to leave. Right before leaving she tells Katsuo that she had met Yumi in a bar before and that Yumi is going to make tacos at the Mexican food festival. So maybe this is Katsuo's chance to eat Yumi's cooking again. The scene then goes back to that day in the bar. Tsubaki got excited the moment she heard Nagisa call out Yumi's name, as if she had finally met a legendary person. She directly asks whether she is Yumi, and Yumi admits it with surprise, then asks how Tsubaki knows her. Tsubaki immediately says, of course she knows because Katsuo once talked to her about Yumi a whole lot. The moment Yumi hears Katsuo's name, Tsubaki quickly introduces herself properly all over again. While Yumi responds a little cautiously, Tsubaki even accidentally lets slip that Katsuo still cannot forget Yumi. Yumi looks like she can hardly believe it, but then she remembers the nearly confessional words Katsuo said in front of everyone back in their hometown, and that makes Yumi's heart begin to waver a little. Back in the present, Yumi is carrying the vegetables sent from home and walking toward Katsuo's house. From far away she sees Tsubaki and Katsuo standing together, so she instinctively hides. Only after Tsubaki leaves does she finally gather her courage to call out to Katsuo after giving him the vegetables. She says nothing else and leaves in a hurry. Maybe she feels that appearing at a time like this is simply not right. When she goes home and cooks, Yumi still cannot stop thinking about the image of Tsubaki and Katsuo standing together. She even burns the taco skin. Meanwhile, Katsuo's mother had already realized that Tsubaki is not really his girlfriend at all. She realizes that maybe she has just been too much of a burden, so her son had to do something like this. So she takes the initiative to apologize to Katsuo. Maybe Katsuo never truly meant to drive her away. He only wanted his parents to understand that a man will not die just because a woman is not there to take care of him. He can also live well by himself. Early the next morning when Katsuo wakes up, his mother has already left. He quickly calls his mother, but no one answers. Meanwhile, Yumi runs into Katsuo's mother wandering outside a dessert shop. The mother is too shy to go in by herself. Thanks to Yumi staying with her, she finally enters that stylish dessert shop she always wanted to try. Yumi then asks about how Katsuo has been lately, but the mother says Katsuo actually wanted to drive her away and even found a friend named Tsubaki to pretend to be his girlfriend. Hearing this, Yumi finally understands why she saw Tsubaki at Katsuo's place yesterday. At that moment a beautiful pudding is served and the mother immediately gets excited like a little child. She had originally planned to just walk around Tokyo alone today, but once she really came out she realized she did not even dare go into a single shop by herself. Only then does she realize that many things are not things she does not want to do, but things she gradually became unable to do, without noticing on the other side. Katsuo is at home organizing clothes when the doorbell suddenly rings. He looks through the peephole and is shocked to see that the person standing outside is his father. This surprises him a lot. Katsuo invites his father inside and pours him some tea, but after one sip his father immediately starts picking fault. He even asks whether there is not even a proper ceramic teapot in the house. Katsuo had originally thought his father came to take his mother home, but unexpectedly his father says with his mouth that of course not. Yet, in the next second he pulls a phone out of his bag and asks his son to look at it for him. It turns out the phone is simply out of battery. It looks like his father has no idea how to deal with it. Ever since his mother left home, he has been living alone and relying on takeout for every meal, but now even the phone he uses to contact the restaurants is out of power. This leaves his father completely helpless. Just as Katsuo is finding the whole thing a little ridiculous, Yumi unexpectedly calls him. The girl tells Katsuo that his mother is with her right now and tells him not to worry. Katsuo had thought that his mother must be feeling very down, but Yumi tells him that his mother is actually incredibly happy. Today she even bought a whole pile of things at the general store that she usually never lets herself buy because her husband normally would not allow her to buy any of them. That small act of rebellion strangely gives her a strong sense of joy. Katsuo's mother also shares the spring rolls she made with Yumi, and the two of them end up talking about her marriage. The mother honestly says that when she first got married she also thought life would be happy, but later she had to take care of her mother-in-law and her husband and raise the children too, and was also often hurt by the things her husband said. Those years were really hard for her. She often could not help wondering if her life was really just going to be like this. After hearing that, Yumi cannot help asking if she ever thought about divorce. The woman openly admits that of course she did, but the older she gets, the harder it becomes to make big changes. That also makes her think of Yumi back when she broke up with Katsuo, and she feels that Yumi must also have gathered enormous courage then. The mother also confesses that the reason she did not try to communicate back then was because she had already decided early that saying anything would be useless. But now when she looks back, she thinks that if they had seriously talked back then maybe life could have had other choices too. Later the mother returns to her son's place and discovers that her husband is also there. Katsuo then tells her that actually his father must have come specifically to take her home. He just will not admit it because of his pride. Then his mother tells Katsuo all the things she saw and thought these past few days. In her generation people always treated a woman not getting married as a kind of unhappiness. But now she sees that single Tsubaki is living very happily and Yumi also looks more independent and stronger now than when she was with Katsuo. So maybe the old fixed ideas she had before really need to change. At night Katsuo and his father sleep side by side on floor bedding in the living room and the father and son actually chat together for once. Katsuo slowly comes to feel that although his father is stubborn and often says things that are unpleasant, he really has given a lot for this family. Early the next morning Katsuo gets up especially early and prepares breakfast for the whole family. He even starts from shaving bonito flakes and makes dashi by hand after taking one sip. His mother cannot help sighing that it has been so long since she drank soup this delicious. She also admits that she herself has not shaved bonito flakes by hand in a very long time. Most of the miso soup she gives her husband these days is instant, but her husband cannot tell the difference at all, and that has strangely become her tiny revenge on him during this breakfast. His father also, unusually, does not keep finding faults. Instead he only gives one short comment, "Not bad." And when he wants another bowl of rice, this time he does not hand the bowl to his wife but gives it to Katsuo instead. Katsuo even teases him and asks, "Didn't you always say a man should sit like a mountain while eating?" But his father proudly replies that since Katsuo made the meal, he should be responsible to the end. In the end, Katsuo still serves rice for his father because in his heart, he knows his father's way of thinking will probably never fully change. Yumi meanwhile gets inspiration from the spring rolls made by Katsuo's mother and turns tacos into Mexican-style spring rolls. Soon the day of the food festival arrives and Tsubaki also brings Katsuo there. After seeing the finished food, someone asks in surprise if this is really a spring roll. Yumi smiles and explains that it is a Mexican-style spring roll. The people watching immediately praise her for being creative. Some people even say right away that they want to try it, and directly ask if they can eat it. The other person impatiently says, "Then I'll dig in." But the moment they bite into it they cry out because it is so hot, still yelling that it is hot. Yumi smiles and reminds them that it was just fried, so they should be careful. The person can only complain that she should have said that earlier, but Yumi can only laugh helplessly and say she did not even get the chance before they bit into it. The result is that the outside is burning hot while the inside is still cold. Everyone jokes that it is like a double attack of ice and fire. Yumi quickly denies it and says it is not that dramatic. After going around in such a big circle, it feels as if the two of them have somehow returned to the point where they first met. Even the people watching think the two of them really look good together. Someone even reminds Yumi to wipe her mouth, but she only laughs and says it really tastes good. The people around them keep praising it bite after bite. Some even excitedly say it tastes amazing and others keep saying how incredible it is. The final episode of Why Don't You Try Doing It has finally come. Katsuo's phone accidentally falls under a vending machine. When he bends down to pick it up, his hand unexpectedly sticks to a glue mouse trap. And just like that, Katsuo gets trapped under the vending machine for a while. No one comes to help him at all. In his mind he even starts imagining things automatically, like being stuck there day after day and year after year until he turns into bones, as if the whole drama is about to end in absurd fashion right there. But of course none of that is real. It is only Katsuo's imagination. Then, by pure chance, Ayumi walks past here and immediately sees Katsuo stuck there. Ayumi recognizes him on the spot and cannot help asking what exactly he is doing. But Katsuo just stammers and has no idea how to explain it. So Ayumi can only keep asking, while being shocked that he somehow ended up like this. Then she immediately bends down to help and casually asks why he is not at work today. Katsuo awkwardly says that he is on leave right now. Ayumi looks confused and asks how someone can be on leave in a place like this. Katsuo quickly explains that of course he is not on leave here. But the more he explains, the messier it gets. When Ayumi tries to pull hard, he cries out in pain again. So she tells him not to rush and to take it slowly. But even after trying several times, they still cannot get him free. Ayumi keeps patiently calming him down while Katsuo is already in total panic. Even she cannot help blurting out, "What kind of situation is this?" In the end, Katsuo can only pitifully ask her to save him. Ayumi even gets serious enough to prepare to call the police. Katsuo quickly stops her and tells her not to make such a scary joke. And just like that, the relationship between Ayumi and Katsuo seems to quietly grow closer again. The reason for that change is exactly the Mexican food festival from the other day. At that time, two of Ayumi's ex-boyfriends had both gathered there. Minato even invited Katsuo to dance together. But at first Katsuo had no interest at all. Then one line from Minato, "Don't tell me you can't do it," instantly wakes up Katsuo's competitive spirit. So for the first time in his life he starts dancing in a bar. His natural and smooth moves even leave Ayumi staring in amazement. It is the first time she has ever seen Katsuo like this, and she only feels that it is both fresh and fun. Tsubaki also takes the chance to push things further from the side, encouraging Katsuo to just confess to Ayumi one more time. After all, the him now is already totally different from the him before. Before they part, Katsuo finally says the words he has wanted to say to Ayumi for a long time. He softly starts speaking, but then emotion suddenly rushes up in him. He talks about all these years, saying that he restricted Ayumi far too much, and seriously apologizes to her. Ayumi also softly responds, admitting that back then her mind had also been full of only wanting to stay by his side. Katsuo gathers his courage and is just about to say that he wants them to get back together. But at that very moment a passing couple loudly confesses to each other and breaks the mood between them. So once again, Ayumi and Katsuo can only part like this. After Katsuo leaves, Ayumi still cannot help peeking out and secretly watching his back as he walks away. In truth, the two of them have already taken a huge step toward each other without realizing it, because Ayumi had never imagined that Katsuo would one day lower his head and admit he was wrong. At least in her old image of him, he was never that kind of person. As for whether she really wants to get back together with Katsuo, Ayumi still does not have an answer for now. At that moment, Minato buys ice cream for everyone and even specially picks Ayumi's favorite flavor, but Ayumi had never once told him that on her own. It turns out Katsuo secretly told Minato earlier, and this once again makes Ayumi feel that Katsuo really has always cared about her. Then another customer walks out from the corner. She really loves the Mexican-style spring rolls Ayumi made, and she also happens to be a food producer. She even proposes opening a shop together with Ayumi. She shows Ayumi examples of trendy shops she worked on before and encourages her to truly feel carefully, then go and do what she really wants to do. Meanwhile, Katsuo also gets a new chance at work. His boss chooses him to be the director of a new project, and this project requires close cooperation with other departments. For Katsuo, this is also a first. Katsuo meets with Tsubaki and Minamikawa, the two fellow broken-hearted people, and as he listens to the two girls non-stop complaining about men, Katsuo even starts feeling like he is the one getting scolded. Meanwhile, Ayumi also decides to quit her job and prepare to open a shop. When she tells her friends this news, everyone feels happy for her. But Katsuo's new work does not go as smoothly as he expected. The junior finds collecting even the most basic data troublesome, and of course Katsuo, who always pursues perfection, wants the work done properly. This also causes the junior to become unhappy. Behind Katsuo's back, the junior complains that not everyone likes throwing their whole life into work the way Katsuo does. On Ayumi's side, however, the preparations for her food shop go very smoothly. She quickly and cleanly quits her receptionist job. She even looks at only one place to rent and immediately feels satisfied, then decisively signs the contract and pays the rent. Next, she is going to start creating new dishes. This makes Ayumi feel for the first time that being alive can truly feel this meaningful. Before getting off work that day, Katsuo again goes to the junior to check the work progress, only to find that the data still has not been sorted out. So the two clash again over their completely different ideas about work. Katsuo hopes the junior will speak out his real thoughts, but the junior simply says work hours are over and turns around and leaves. The section chief thinks that part of the problem also lies in how Katsuo communicates, and even suggests that he find a chance to buy the junior a drink and talk things out. The next day Katsuo really does invite the junior out, but the result is a clean and direct refusal. So Katsuo can only shoulder most of the work by himself. He gets so busy that he can only rely on takeout for meals, but then one day the dumplings he orders do not even come with chili oil. Since he absolutely cannot accept that, he has no choice but to run to the supermarket to buy some. And it is exactly while paying that he runs into Yumi once again. Yumi is carrying a big bag full of ingredients and tells Katsuo that she is going to open a food shop and that she is testing dishes right now. So Katsuo casually helps carry her things back to her place. This is also the first time he has ever come to where Yumi lives. Now Yumi even takes the initiative to invite him to stay and eat something, which is exactly what Katsuo had secretly been hoping for. Inside soon Yumi serves the Mexican-style rice balls she has been testing after so long tasting. Yumi's cooking again with that home-like feeling almost makes Katsuo want to cry. That familiar happiness rushes up at once. He keeps saying it is delicious, even repeating again and again that it is really, really delicious. But Yumi laughs and says that only saying delicious gives zero real feedback. Still, Katsuo can only say apologetically that other than delicious he really cannot say anything else. Yumi can tell that something seems to be on his mind, so Katsuo also begins talking about the setbacks he has faced at work recently. Only now does he realize that the reason things used to go so smoothly for him is largely because other people had always been adapting to him. But now that it is his turn to understand and adapt to others, he discovers how hard that really is. By the time he says this much, even Katsuo himself can barely stand it. He despises himself for complaining like this, and thinks it makes him look pathetic. He even feels more and more embarrassed the more he talks. But Yumi immediately rejects that thought. In her eyes, a Katsuo who tries this hard is not pathetic at all. Instead, he looks really cool. Hearing that, Katsuo again feels that maybe this is the perfect chance to ask to get back together. He is just about to say something when a loud noise suddenly comes from next door, and forcefully breaks the gentle mood between them. So once again, Katsuo fails to say what he wanted to say. Still, the rice balls Yumi made give him a new idea. The next day Katsuo also makes rice balls and shares them with the junior. He thinks this will surely bring them closer. Meanwhile, Yumi also reaches the day she is finally supposed to move into her shop, but strangely, even though the agreed time has passed, the partner never appears. Instead, a moving company starts bringing furniture into the shop, and there is even a strange man claiming to be the real manager of the place. Only then does Yumi realize something is wrong. She quickly calls the partner but finds that the number has already become invalid. It turns out Yumi has been scammed. Meanwhile, Katsuo is also accused of workplace harassment because of a complaint from the junior. The company punishes him by suspending him from work for a period of reflection. This also makes him truly realize for the first time that in the workplace, people with different work values really stand in completely different positions. Yet strangely, neither Yumi nor Katsuo completely sinks because of this. On the other side, Katsuo instead feels that he has finally gotten the chance to seriously cook. He even plans to make cabbage rolls, a dish that takes a lot of time. At the same time, Yumi simply eats all the test dishes she made herself in one go, and realizes that as long as she can still eat something tasty, life does not feel that terrible. Katsuo also decides to use this chance to really give himself a break and spend some time enjoying life. Then comes that scene where he gets stuck under the vending machine because of the glue mouse trap, and in the end Yumi is the one who saves him. The two of them naturally start exchanging information about the recent failures in their lives. Only then do they realize that both of them are strangely in the same useless state right now. So they simply go play baseball together and walk around the city. And in the end they eat grilled offal at a place both of them really like. Yumi drinks down 2 large mugs of beer in one go. Only then does Katsuo realize that the girl before him can actually drink this much, and Yumi also starts seeing Katsuo in a new way. She openly says that she used to always think Katsuo was the kind of super perfect person, like a high-spec perfect boyfriend. Katsuo cannot help asking if he is not that anymore. But Yumi cleanly says no and even laughs and says that the current him actually feels really lame. Katsuo immediately protests in dissatisfaction, saying that is going too far, and asks her why. But Yumi only smiles and says, the current him is actually better this way. After that the two even unexpectedly discover that they are both regulars at this shop. It seems that in their whole lives they have never been this in sync and this happy before. After leaving the shop, both of them still keep enjoying the memory of that happy night. A strange feeling slowly begins to grow between them and both of them unconsciously stop walking. Katsuo finally makes up his mind to say those words. Ayumi also notices how serious he is. Katsuo gathers his courage and says he wants to start over with her, and the person he means is Ayumi. He feels that the two of them now can really walk forward together, because Ayumi has changed and he himself has changed too. They will not be like they were before anymore. The drama Why Don't You Try Doing It, which stayed with us for more than 2 months, finally reaches its ending. About this ending, all I can say is that it is unexpected, but also completely reasonable, because both Ayumi and Katsuo became better versions of themselves through this relationship. At the end of the last episode, Katsuo asked Ayumi to get back together. Unexpectedly, Ayumi agreed very readily. Still, the two of them did not hurry to live together again. During the period when Ayumi was job hunting, she often came to Katsuo's home for meals, and Katsuo happened to be suspended from work and reflecting at that time, so he naturally took on the role of cooking for this home. The omurous Katsuo maid even received Ayumi's praise. This is probably the moment men most dream of when they learn to cook. But even so, he still keeps wanting to do more for Ayumi. He starts saying on his own that if there is anything she does not understand in her resume, she can ask him, and that he can even personally teach her. He also stresses that since he is a working adult, he understands these things at least a little, and that as long as there is anything he can help with, he is willing to do it. Ayumi still says thank you. Even while saying that, Katsuo suddenly stands up and really starts demonstrating interview steps and points to. But Ayumi is already in her 30s, after all, and this is not her first time entering society. She already understands these basic manners. Katsuo only wants too badly to help Ayumi, but because of that he accidentally reveals that teaching off side of his rude trait again. Still, Ayumi's job search is not going well. She originally wants to first gain some experience by working part-time in food service, but no shop wants to hire a 30-year-old woman with no restaurant experience. That night Katsuo makes simmered cod and radish at home. Ayumi goes through interview after interview but still fails every time. She is actually feeling very down inside, yet she still forces herself to praise Katsuo's cooking. Katsuo can also see that Ayumi is in low spirits, so he tells her not to force herself anymore. He even suggests that she can just move back in with him. He will cover the rent and can also take care of all the living expenses. Ayumi would not need to worry about anything. On the surface, Ayumi still politely says thank you, but inside small waves begin to move in her heart. Not long after that, Katsuo's suspension ends and Ayumi also begins a new round of job interviews. The two set out from their own homes, then meet up again at Koenji Junjo shopping street and cheer each other on. But the moment Katsuo returns to work he runs straight into new trouble. The junior not only makes decisions behind his back, but also keeps ignoring his arrangements, and insists on doing things his own way. On the other side, Ayumi's job search still does not go well. When they eat dinner together at night, both of them carefully hide the bad feelings and only tell each other the good parts. But Ayumi still sees right away that Katsuo's day actually did not go well. Even so, Katsuo stubbornly refuses to show Ayumi any of his negative emotions, and Ayumi, after repeated failures in job hunting, finally decides once again to open her own shop. She rents the daytime hours of Taihei's bar when it is not open and plans to use it to sell Mexican food. Meanwhile, Katsuo's side also finally sees a breakthrough at work. Minamikawa and that junior are actually from the same intake, so she leads him and the two of them finish 1,000 surveys in one go. Even Tsubaki and Minato also help out together. Minamikawa says that she only wanted to do this because Katsuo had helped her a lot before, so this time she also wanted to turn around and help him. But Katsuo suddenly lets his rude side explode again, and actually says he hopes Minamikawa will keep being his subordinate forever. Naturally, those words only leave Minamikawa speechless. On the other side, Ayumi starts carefully calculating the cost of opening her shop, but because it is her first time dealing with this kind of thing, it makes her feel a real headache. Right then Katsuo comes home after overtime and sees her getting ready to serve dinner, but before that he catches sight of the numbers she wrote in her notebook. Katsuo immediately says that he can handle this kind of thing for her, but Ayumi directly says no, she wants to handle it herself. Katsuo still insists, feeling that this is clearly his area of strength, and he starts talking about things like first looking at the break-even point, then the cost rate, and saying that the cost rate should ideally stay under 30%. He even tries to go further and analyze Ayumi's current situation, but Ayumi finally cuts him off. She seriously says that this is something she wants to do with her own hands. Only then does Katsuo realize that he crossed the line, so he can only apologize quietly. He had only been worried about whether she was running into trouble, but Ayumi says that she is not, and in an instant a wave of awkwardness fills the air. Ayumi even begins to feel that it was because she was sitting here doing the calculations that Katsuo started caring so much, so she simply packs up her things and goes home while eating dinner alone. Katsuo also starts seriously thinking about their relationship. After getting back together, it feels like something already quietly changed. The more he tries to keep the relationship in a good state, the farther apart the two of them seem to drift. Maybe for the current Yumi, Katsuo is already more than just not necessary. He may even be becoming someone who is blocking her growth. To save enough money to open the shop, Yumi finally decides to first find a part-time job. After she tells her friends this news, everyone feels happy for her. Nagisa casually mentions that Katsuo would probably be happy if he knew too, but in truth Ayumi still has not told him yet. After dinner, Ayumi takes the initiative to go see Katsuo, and both of them vaguely realize that the decisive moment has finally come. But before that they still have many things they want to talk through properly, so the two of them each begin to speak about what they went through during the time they were apart. For example, how Ayumi met Nagisa and how Katsuo came to know Tsubaki. Then Katsuo seriously apologizes again to Ayumi for what happened the other day. He talks about how, after Ayumi dumped him a few months ago, he kept desperately thinking about what exactly he had done wrong, and that is why he started trying to make shikuzeni. But when he cooked alone late into the night, and still only made a pile of terrible food, only then did he finally understand how amazing Ayumi really was, while all he had ever done before was complain day after day. Ayumi also cannot help joining in talking about those criticisms like the meal is all brown and the ingredients in the miso soup and side dishes repeat too much for the sake of balanced nutrition and keeping the menu varied every day. The person cooking is actually carrying a heavy burden. Having to keep all those details in mind all the time is not easy at all. Katsuo once again apologizes very seriously. But Ayumi also realizes that if she were still her old self she would never have been able to say these words, because back then, her mind was filled only with trying to please Katsuo. She always felt that if she obeyed a man, then she could gain someone to rely on. She was afraid of living alone, because if she did not have to think about anything and only followed someone else, then life would of course feel easier. But after a long time she slowly lost even her own independent self. So the current Yumi wants to become truly independent and gain the strength to stand firmly on her own. That is exactly why she rejects Katsuo's help, because she does not want to go back onto that old road again. Katsuo actually understands this very well too. If he forces his own ideas onto Yumi again, then Yumi will once again return to a state of suppressing herself. So it is not that they do not suit each other. It is that at this stage of life they are still not suitable for being together. Katsuo frankly says that if he were still his old self, he would definitely have preferred black-haired Ayumi. But now he feels that the Ayumi standing before him is the most beautiful. He sincerely tells her that she is truly wonderful and the very best. He even repeats again and again that she is really amazing and that all of this comes from his true heart. Still, he also knows clearly that the reason he is able to see Yumi this way now is exactly because he is no longer her boyfriend. The things the two of them could not see while dating have now become clear instead. After hearing that, Yumi also softly responds, then it is as if she finally makes up her mind and fully reaches her decision inside. She says the two of them should stop here after all, and Katsuo calmly accepts that decision. This story starring Yumi and Katsuo finally also reaches its ending. So what kind of future waits for them after they separate very soon? Katsuo wins the project thanks to a perfect report, and those 1,000 survey forms turn out to be the key. Meanwhile, Ayumi keeps preparing her own shop while also working part-time. Her Mexican food shop opens smoothly. Even former coworkers come specially to support her, and Katsuo, in order to completely say goodbye to the past, also decides to move away from this place. He passes by that bar one last time and, from far away, sees that a Yumi's shop has already officially opened. He feels truly happy for Yumi from the bottom of his heart, but still does not choose to walk in. After closing business, Ayumi still has to go back and prepare ingredients for the next day. Meanwhile, Katsuo is happily playing with a dog by the roadside and completely loses himself in it. And just like that, the two of them unexpectedly step onto the same street at the same time, but one goes left and the other goes right, and in the end they still do not meet. Yet waiting ahead of them will surely be an even wider road in life.